welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching, and this video is brought to you by Nexus.
Nexus. Because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it?
So I'm going to talk about WandaVision Episode 7, titled Breaking the Fourth Wall. This episode pays homage to the early 2000s sitcoms where they were filmed almost as mockumentaries like Modern Family. The intro is even reference to The Office. So episode 7 serves as a setup episode. We're getting to the end of the season. I wouldn't call this a filler episode because it did move the story along. There were some revelations in this story, but it wasn't as action-packed, it wasn't as groundbreaking as some of the other episodes. It was pretty much about Wanda dealing with her actions while her world is breaking apart. You notice that her house is shifting, reality is shifting around her, she has no control. When the twins go upstairs to get Wanda up from bed, it was pretty funny, she was still wearing her Scarlet Witch outfit from the last episode. This episode really deals with the aftermath of what happened in the Halloween episode. We briefly go back outside of the Hex where we see Hayward and the remnants of S.W.O.R.D., the ones that were able to escape Wanda's Hex. And Hayward makes the comment, "We launched today." But immediately after that, it transitions to Vision. Is Hayward going to use Vision or infiltrate Vision's mind to use him to bring down Wanda? We don't know, but we definitely have to see more of Project Cataract. They do speak about it later. As we saw in the last episode, Darcy was able to get an email out to Wu, and we see him reviewing that email with Monica. They talk about Cataract, and Monica says Hayward wants his sentient weapon back. So whatever they were doing in that lab at S.W.O.R.D. with Vision, are we going to see some after effects to that? We also see where Darcy's at. She pretty much joined the circus and was the escape artist. We see the adventures of Darcy and Vision as they connect, and Vision is trying to catch up with what's going on. So Darcy does serve that purpose of bringing Vision up to speed, because up until this point, Vision had no idea what was going on, and that was one of the issues that he was having throughout this season, where he was just trying to figure out what's going on, who he was, and Darcy was able to explain that to him from, the moment that he died, and not just once but twice, and Wanda had to see that. She had to experience that. You see that look on his face where he realizes she's been through a lot. We got to remember that although 5 years have passed after the snap, the people that were dusted just came back about 3 to 4 weeks ago. So this is all still fresh to Wanda. She is still vulnerable. She's still going through a state of depression and sadness. She lost her brother, she lost Vision. We go back to Wanda. She's back in her living room. She's interacting with the boys, and they ask Wanda about Uncle Pietro, and she tells them, don't listen to anything that man says. He is not your uncle. So we get confirmation this is not Pietro. So who is he? Who is Evan Peters playing? Is he Jimmy Woo's eyewitness? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But there is more to this character that we'll see as the season progresses. Throughout the episode, we see Wanda reacting to her world, to everything that she's experiencing and going through. At one moment, as she's being interviewed in front of the camera, she's talking about, why is this happening? Why can't she fix things? Why is everything broken? You hear the person who's recording the interview ask her, do you think this is what you deserve? Interesting question to ask, because maybe Wanda is inflicting this on herself because maybe she feels that she deserves to be punished. Or, considering Wanda may be manipulated, did Wanda do something to the person who's manipulating her? Right after that, you see the next commercial. The commercial of this episode was Nexus. It was an antidepressant medication, but the commercial makes a couple of interesting points. It's meant to heal the reality of your chaos, and that's what's going on in Wanda's life. There's chaos surrounding her, all around her. Now, an interesting question to ask, is Westview a form of Nexus? Does Westview connect our reality, or the MCU reality, to other realities? After the commercial break, brought to you by Nexus, we later see Monica wearing her astronaut suit. She's trying to go through the barrier, but the rover can't make it through. She takes off the helmet. She starts pushing right through the hex barrier. And you see as she's going through, she's kind of separating. It's almost as if she's breaking apart, similar to what was happening with Vision. As she's gonna break through and make it into Westview, her eyes start lighting up blue. In the last episode, Darcy mentioned because she went through the hex barrier twice, it was manipulating her cells. So this is the third time and she really had to push through, and we see her develop abilities. When she gets through the hex barrier, she does that superhero landing. But with her new abilities, she's able to see in a different spectrum, which is a nice little reference to one of her superhero names, Spectrum. She goes off to find Wanda, and when she arrives to Wanda's house, Wanda's freaked out. She's like, what are you doing here? Get out. But she tells her, listen, this has all been about Vision. Wanda uses her hex powers on Monica and pushes her out the house, and Monica does her second superhero landing, but with a little bit more control. You see a little bit of the blue energy, and Wanda's even taken back a bit. She tells her, listen, this has all been about Vision. Don't let Hayward make you the villain. You have to put down the hex. As she's trying to talk to Wanda and make sense to her, they're interrupted by Agnes. Agnes comes in and sends her off like, young lady, you gotta get out of here, and just brings Wanda with her. And when Wanda gets to Agnes's house, she notices that the kids aren't there. She asks Agnes, hey, where are the twins? And Agnes tells her, oh, they're probably in the basement. So Wanda starts making her way into the basement, and she sees these vines. It gets a little creepy, and the further in she walks, she sees there's a lair, and there's hexagonal symbols. You see skulls in the wall, and it's just a very creepy vibe. You even see a book glowing. Now, is this the Darkhold? Maybe, maybe not. We saw it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when we got that Ghost Rider storyline, which was pretty awesome. We're now seeing this book here. I'm sure there's going to be more to it. They wouldn't have just shown the book just to show it. I don't think it's a throwaway thing. Is it the Darkhold? It might be something else completely different, but we'll see. However, if it is the Darkhold, is this how the MCU is going to introduce the supernatural? We've never had werewolves and vampires, and the MCU did make the announcement that they're going to do the Blade movie. So is this a way to introduce vampires? Does the Darkhold open a rip in reality? There's a lot of potential here, so we'll have to see. Does the Darkhold play out in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? As Wanda is observing, you see Agnes come through, and she's holding Mr. Scratchy, and she tells her, so you thought you were the only magical gal in town? And at that moment, she puts some kind of hex or spell on Wanda, and she starts glowing purple. She introduces herself, says her name is Agatha Harkness, and that was a theory for a while now. We mentioned that Agnes fits the role, and we got hints at it throughout the entire season. You get a nice little melody, a nice little introduction, and you see how it was Agatha all along. So they had a lot of fun with that scene right there, which was great. You see Agatha floating and making her way to Wanda and Vision's house, bringing that plant that we saw in the first episode. We see how she was manipulating the magic that Vision and Wanda were doing and caused the bunny to kind of run off. So the lyrics to the song says that she's been pulling the strings. She's been making things happen. She was even responsible for Pietro. She was making all this happen. She even confesses that she killed Sparky and then has the maniacal laugh. The same one that she had in the last episode when she was wearing the witch's outfit and talking to Vision. And it was very fun. Not that I didn't expect it. We all suspected that Agnes was indeed Agatha. Is Agatha really pulling the strings? Maybe. But keep in mind, there might be more to this. Are we experiencing a similar situation to Avengers, how Loki was invading New York City, declaring war, but behind the scenes, he was answering to Thanos, and we saw how that played out in the long run. So does Agatha answer to someone else? I find it a little hard to believe that it's just Agatha. And if it is, it's fine, it's great, but I have a feeling that there's going to be more to it, and we're probably not going to see it until maybe the after credit scene at the end of this season. And speaking of after credit scenes, we got our first after credit scene in this episode, and it's Monica as she makes her way to Agnes's house, sees the basement, opens up, and she sees the vine, and with her powers she's able to see that spectrum of energy, and she sees the purple, and even her eyes are almost reflecting that purple energy. But then she turns around and she sees Pietro, or the person pretending to be Pietro, and he says Snooper's gonna snoop. So what's gonna happen to Monica? Is Pietro still in cahoots with Agatha? Is he working for Agatha, or is he the person that Agatha is reporting to? Is he the person manipulating everything? But it was awesome to get that after credit scene. I like to hope that we get a couple more after credit scenes for the 8th and the 9th episode. We're so close to the finale. We're so close to getting all the answers, hopefully all the answers, because there's potentially going to be things that will play out outside of the show. So this episode was pretty fun. It wasn't the best episode out of the season, but it did accomplish what it was intended to accomplish. The season has to wrap it up, and we needed to get the setup. We needed to put all the pieces on the board, where everyone is at. We know where Vision is at, we know where Darcy's at, we know where Monica, where Wu, where Wanda, where Agatha is. So the board is set. Now we just have to see how the match plays out. I'm super excited. Can't wait until we get the next 2 episodes so that we can talk more about it. But let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you have fun with it? Were some of the reviews to this episode what you were expecting? How awesome was it that Monica got her powers in this episode? That was pretty cool. Leave your comments below. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. That is always appreciated. And if you want to stay up to date with my content, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. Thank you for watching. Until next time, that's a wrap. And remember, this video was brought to you by Nexus.